Hey guys, it's Brandi. Before we get started today, I wanted to apologize because some of the audio in this recording is not so wonderful. I'm trying to figure out how to best do remote interviews, and so my audio quality doesn't sound so great, but my guest, her audio is pretty good. So please be patient and stick around for the content because the content is great and going to be super beneficial for you. I also wanted to point you to the website, which is roadhometoyou.com, because I completely forgot to do that at the end of the show. So please go to roadhometoyou.com, where you will find show notes as well as links to everything that my guest has to offer from her website and resources for where to find help. Hey, also, while you're at it, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you can find a podcast, you can find us. So please do that and be sure and tell a friend, because word of mouth is how things grow. So thank you very much, you guys. All right, enjoy the episode. Hey friends, I'm Brandi Gable. Thank you for joining me on the road home to you. Here we offer hope and faith in Jesus to those who have been wounded by others, caught up in addiction, or afflicted by the storms of life. Every week I sit down with someone who's traveled those long, hard roads and met Jesus along the way. I invite you to join me as I talk with real people about real issues that really matter. Hey friends, welcome to the road home to you. I'm Brandi Gable, and it is a delight to have you with me today. I am tripping over my tongue. My goodness sakes, I think I need more coffee, but that is not to be had right now because instead I have a very special guest to sit down and chat with. And you guys, I am so excited to introduce you to this week's guest because first of all, I've just spent about 10 minutes just chatting with her and she's just a delight. But second of all, she has some really super valuable insight for us as the church in a topic that is, I think, oftentimes misunderstood and maybe even avoided. So I would like to welcome to the show my new friend, Brandi Voth.
Voth. Way to go. Yes.
Excellent. She is the person behind the Power Project, which is all about helping men and women, particularly women, though, I think, kind of coming out of the sex trafficking world and recovery through that. Brandi, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's a delight. And that was like a terrible introduction. And I'm sorry for that. I just tripped all over my words.
No, don't listen. Don't apologize at all. If there's a lot, for starters, like no one gets my name right. So kudos to you for that.
Yay.
And then also, the Power Project is just such an all encompassing, community and brand that I've built that even I have to figure out, like, how do I actually present this to people? And so typically, it's a community and an online brand where we are really in the business of empowering people and inspiring them to live purpose-filled lives and own their power. And then one branch of that is that I serve as a mentor to trafficked survivors, predominantly female at this point, because I work in an aftercare home for sexually exploited and trafficked women. And I don't work there. I volunteer and teach a class. But then I'm also on the board of an aftercare home for trafficked boys. And it's the first of its kind in the US. We'll be opening that in June. So yeah, so you got it. It's a giant mouthful to kind of bring to the world.
Yeah. No, I get that. That is a lot to take on. First of all, I guess what kind of got you into the idea of working with people who have been in the sex trafficked world? I don't know
Yeah.
how to say that.
You're fine. The commercial sex industry
Okay.
is kind of, the easiest way to present it.
Okay.
And it was God. Like this is not something I chose. So that's a really great question, because I had built a business. I have a skincare franchise, and I have women all over 17 states in the US and 7 territories in Australia, and 6 or 7, I don't know. So I was in a place where I had built a really successful business. I had really enjoyed coaching and training the women, and I had found I was encountering women that were they had very limited beliefs in themselves, and I didn't know exactly how to like help them see that they were capable of so much more. So I had really leaned into starting this whole purpose journey of coaching more women than just within my business to see their value and their worth and what skills they bring to the table. Simultaneously, I had traveled to Australia because my team was launching in Australia, and I saw some billboards talking about immigrants being targeted for trafficking. And I believe the billboard was in Melbourne. And when I saw that, I immediately, it just caught my eye. And I thought, wow, that's strange that they have a problem with that. And then transfer over to the airport, going through the airport, there were some posters about missing children being targeted for trafficking. And this literally, I don't think I had ever recognized the word trafficking before this trip. And I was in a place of being open and saying, God, I'm here to serve a greater purpose. I'm great at training business. I'm great at coaching women, but I know there's something else that you have in addition to that. And tell me what it is, and I'll say yes. And so I was in the right headspace to be open to him calling me into something else. And I came home, and I really thought it was just on my heart. It was kind of like when you buy a white car and then you see everyone else driving a white car. It was like it popped up in my news feed on Facebook. It was on the channel, the local news at 6, and it just kept coming back to this word. And I started feeling that tug on my heart, and I literally told God I wanted nothing to do with it. I'm like, nope. I'm going to go serve some mission trips in Africa. I'm going to help rescue some little orphan babies that are adorable. And that is my call in life, my purpose. Because in my mind, it seemed so much more sparkly than working with trafficked individuals. And I just thought, this is seedy and dark and shady and dangerous, and it's nothing I want anything to do with. I've lived a life that's been really privileged and fluffy and nice and pretty, and I don't even know how I would even empathize with the women that have gone through this. And so God just didn't let go of my heart. And it was several months that I really ran from this. Meanwhile, I was doing research and reading and watching some videos and researching organizations in the area. And so, I finally, literally, I woke up at about 2 a.m. one night, which was happening routinely. God likes to wake me up in the middle of the night because I'm not quiet any other time for him to really talk to me. And it was just one of those where I was awake and it was on my heart. And I just kept hearing, move your feet and serve where you are. And I'm like, I have no idea what this could possibly mean. And so I got up and I went to my devotional, my Bible, and I turned to the Matthew scripture that what I whisper in the dark, proclaim in the light. And so I thought, okay, I'm supposed to tell someone about this. Great. I don't even know what this looks like. I had found the A21 Walk for Freedom at that point, and that was kind of something I was feeling pulled and drawn to. And I thought, okay, well, I can go join this Walk for Freedom, and this is how I can move my feet and serve where I am. And so literally that's what it started with. And that evolved into me getting plugged in with a human trafficking coalition. And then that turned into me mentoring and teaching a class at an aftercare home for trafficked women. And then it also led to me being on the board for the aftercare home for boys that I'll be on, and doing public education events and community engagement events where I speak and bring awareness to human trafficking and what it really looks like, and not like the movie Taken. But yeah, it's all been God. It's not something I chose by any means, but it's been a really beautiful journey that I'm grateful to be a part of.
That's awesome. And now, how long were you saying that you've kind of been at this then?
20 May of 2017 is when I first had my attention brought to it in Australia. Okay. And then I did my first walk for freedom with A21 in October of 2017. And then by January of 2018, I was teaching a class at the aftercare home. So really, I've been really plugged in, actively involved heavily for the last 2 years.
Okay. So let's get back to that idea of what sex trafficking really looks like, because I know that for myself, you've mentioned the movie Taken, and I haven't seen that, but I do have kind of this this idea of it being sort of the dark, seedy underbelly of the crime world, and this is what happens in back alleys and dark streets, and if you're hanging out in the red light district. But if you're out at the mall, surely that's safe. And I know that's not true. We actually just got a notification here in the Clackamas area. We have a mall, and there's been apparently quite a lot of sex trafficking happening at the mall. Men and women introducing themselves to these young kids and kind of bringing them into the sex trade. So explain to us kind of what it actually looks like as opposed to what we think it might look like.
So for starters, I get asked often is it happening here? And no one thinks it's happening in their town, or, that's a problem overseas. Like, that's not a problem here in suburban America. And my response is, do you have one of these? Because if you do, it's happening in your back pocket. Yeah. The internet has made the sell of human bodies through force, fraud, and coercion, which is the definition of trafficking, very readily available and at your fingertips. And traffickers realize that it's one thing to go sell a bag of drugs one time, and then you make the money off that one time, but a person can be sold over and over and over and over. So they are smart. They are online. They are building relationships with your children. And the average age of entry into trafficking is between 12 to 15. And so typically it looks like someone that has built a relationship with the person that they traffic. There are situations where it's a relationship. Oftentimes the girls who come through the aftercare home, it almost always starts with, I met a guy. And they get into a relationship. The guy convinces them to, do something that they don't necessarily want to do, but she's helping him out. She's helping him make some money. They need to pay the bills. And then once it's done, man, it's just going to be a repeated lifestyle where they are forced to perform, where their life is threatened. Their family's lives are threatened. They don't keep any of their money. But oftentimes the craziest part of it all is that the girl thinks that they're in a relationship and they've made a bad decision. Yeah. I mean, I have girls that were trafficked for 2-3 years and never knew they were being trafficked. In their mind, they thought, I have a mean boyfriend. He beats me if I don't help him out and make him enough money. He threatens me. He keeps my money, but it's just a bad relationship. And they don't even realize really what they've been involved with. And these kids, as far as the kids go, unfettered access to social media and online video chat rooms is a major factor. And the reason that online video chat rooms is a problem is because the law enforcement has ways of having visibility to social media direct messages and social media interaction. But the online video chat rooms is something that we haven't been able to break into that yet. And predators know that. So they hang out in these chat rooms. They build relationships with your kids. They typically pose as a kid that same age. And then after they've built relationships, they wait for a time that your child says, my parents are being so mean today, or I was bullied at school today, or I feel fat today, or some inside where they can jump in and say, oh, I've been through that too. I completely understand. And this is the
Mhm.
grooming process that happens to where that they build this relationship. It turns into an in-person introduction. And sometimes there's no in-person introduction whatsoever. Sometimes it just turns into send me a picture of you. Let's video chat. I just had, if you're not familiar, Bark.us is a monitoring app that monitors all of your children's online activity, text messages. It's great. You don't have to stalk your children and go through their phones every night. I have it, I use it, and I receive notifications about anything that is cyberbullying or texting or violence or suicide, anxiety, depression, drug and alcohol use, a whole wide range.
Wow.
So I had Tanya Jordan from Bark on, and she's the chief parenting officer. I had her on my podcast, The Power Project, and she discussed allowing your children to be online in what is very seemingly innocent and allowing them to go on and make TikTok videos, which I'm on TikTok. I got on there because I was curious. It's kind of a fun, goofy app to be on. My kids are not on there and they will not be on there. But allowing your kids to go on and post an innocent picture on Instagram or an innocent lip sync dance video on TikTok, and then the amount of predators that jump on that, the rate of speed that they jump on that is completely shocking. And it at that age, the kids don't realize the danger behind communicating with this person or realizing that, oh, this person might not be a 12-year-old boy. This person that's asking me to send him more videos and more pictures might not actually be who he is. I mean, I've had kids on TikTok sending me messages like, oh, I saw that you had on a Colorado hoodie. Are you from Colorado? I live in Breckenridge. And yes. And I'm like, no, guys, don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't tell people these details. And this isn't the episode that we're discussing this, but a soapbox I have here is, you guys, whether you hate social media and you want nothing to do with it, you need to be where your kids and or their friends are hanging out, and you need to be aware of what it looks like. I'm able to tell you like what your kids are doing on social media because I'm on there where your kids are and I'm paying attention to what's happening. So that's the biggest thing that really, fuels the commercial sex industry at this point in this time. And that is where law enforcement is working diligently to shut down. And there have been great strides that have happened in the last 2 years that I've been involved. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Backpage, but Backpage was part of the, the dark web, and it was an online platform for trafficking. And it was shut down in the time period that I've been in this. And there's good and bad with that, because then the people that were on Backpage go elsewhere, and now we're having to go find where these other places are that they're at. But there's amazing strides being made in the fight. So there's victories. I see daily victories.
Now, you were mentioning too, prior to us actually recording, you were mentioning that it's even happening, in the aisle of a store. So kind of what does that look like? I mean, because that's my understanding of it too. I mean, I do know that it definitely happens in those social media online spaces, but what does it look like when it's happening at the mall or at Target or whatever?
So typically, spoiler alert, once again, it doesn't really look like what people are saying it looks like when they're talking about the people in Walmart. In our experience, in what I see, the coalition that I'm in, Homeland Security's there, FBI, 42 different nonprofit organizations, private detectives. I mean, we have all the governor's office, everybody's in one room. And while, yes, you can encounter anyone in person that is a bad dude that's going to kidnap someone, that's not the main population that this is happening to. Typically where kids hang out, predators are going to hang out, sexual predators are going to hang out. But oftentimes when they meet at the mall, when they meet someone at the mall, they've already met them online. Like that person at the mall is not a stranger to them anymore because they've already built a relationship with them online. The dude that they meet down at the park is someone they've already Snapchatted with or or something. Not to say it can't happen that they meet a stranger out in public, but that's typically not where the relationship has began.
What are some things, because I know oftentimes, like, I tend to think of those that are being sex trafficked as oftentimes being from other countries that are being brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know that that's not necessarily true, but can definitely be true,
Mm-hmm.
when they're promised employment or whatever, promised
Mm-hmm.
school, and
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden their employment is, out on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
What are some signs and symptoms that we, like, just as general people in the world, can kind of be observant of, as far as, like, this might be a red flag that somebody's in a dangerous situation?
Mm-hmm. That's probably the second question I get asked is about the immigrant. I mean, I have people right here in suburban America that have asked me, does it happen here? And are they all illegal immigrants? And I'm like, no, I am sorry. There is no cultural stereotype that boxes in one person that's going to be trafficked over another.
Mhm.
There is oftentimes a vulnerability. I
Right.
mean, the vulnerability is the one thing that I can say everyone has in common, whether it is they are in a hard time in their life, or they're having self doubt and insecurities, or they are a runaway. Runaways are super targeted for trafficking.
Mhm.
Immigrants, yes, are a vulnerable person that is susceptible to being trafficked because they don't understand the language, the culture. They have a false job promise presented to them. So yes, but trafficking is no judge of persons. It doesn't care if you are black, white. It doesn't care if you are legal, illegal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care if you're a boy or a girl. And boys, the number for boys being trafficked is around 40%, and just the local stings that we've seen
Oh, wow.
done here in Texas. So it's just something that is really starting to get the attention drawn to. As far as what you can look for as the average citizen, because this is something I really feel passionate about, that through education is how we're able to
Mhm.
change the dialogue that surrounds it. For starters, it's a person that doesn't make eye contact with others, a person that is typically looking over their shoulder, a person that seems to be fearful, like they're being watched. They don't speak unless they're spoken to. If you're an educator or someone that has hands on interaction with teenage kids, something to pay attention to is, do they have multiple cell phones? Are they getting phone calls at different times of the day? Are they having to leave suddenly? Obviously, any type of physical abuse marks on their body. If they work, but they don't have their own money to pay for things, or they don't have their own transportation to get to and from places. Those are just a few. And here's the thing, it happens in classrooms and teachers don't know anything about it. It happens in churches and pastors don't know about it. It happens in workplaces and no one knows anything about it. It happens in gated communities that back up to golf courses, and people don't know what is happening behind closed doors.
That is so insidious and scary and sad to think about, the amount of people that are being abused in such a way, that are just, that you pass by every single day and don't think twice about. And I think one of the things, as I've been doing this show now for about a year and a half, I think one of the things that I've probably learned more than anything is that the church, by and large, seems to be completely either oblivious or willfully ignorant of some of the horrible things that people are dealing with, whether that's sex trafficking, or domestic violence, or suicide and depression, or addiction, whatever. We tend to want to kind of turn a blind eye to it. And boy, that just doesn't help anybody. How can it, is there something that you've seen that the church whether that's kind of the church with a capital C or just the local church, can kind of be doing to come alongside those who have been trafficked, who are being victimized, or just in stopping this slavery of people. What can the church be doing to help this?
Oh, that's a good question. And I love calling the church out. I love it. I mean, like, honest to goodness, there are so many things that we're getting wrong, and we're not being the hands and feet of Jesus because we expect people to look a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, fit into this box of conformity that looks good and it's tied up with a bow. And Jesus hung out with drunks and prostitutes and adulteresses and thieves, and he didn't care what they looked like. He said, come alongside me, right? Like, follow me.
Yeah.
And so, and I feel this way about many, many subjects that the church likes to put their head in the sand and say, we come together on Sundays and we look pretty and our hair smells good and we've got our cute outfit on and we sing our worship music and our lights are good and our fog machine's good and everything is perfect. And then we go home. For starters, if you are not going out of the church and being Jesus to people that you encounter every single day, and I'm not talking about pull your Bible out and beat them over the head with your Bible. I'm talking about literally being Jesus, like saying, I see you, I recognize you, I love you, I'm here, you're a human in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion that looks like that day. You're missing the mark. 100%. Yes. Like, yes. The church was never intended to be a building of four walls that is contained within those four walls. The church was intended to be a movement where we go outward and we reach the people that need to be reached. And if you look around and everyone looks like you and believes like you and talks like you and worships like you, you're not reaching the people that God has intended for you to reach. I like to say that my group of friends, like, I have more friends that have felonies on their record now than don't. and I'm good with that. I've learned more from them than I've learned from people that have sat next to me on a church pew. Being willing to say, you don't have to have everything together. I don't expect you to have everything together. I just want you to know that there's a God that loves you. I just want you to know that Jesus Christ died for your sins. I just want you to know that your body may have been sold, but your soul can't be, because he bought that a long time ago. And look, you're going to encounter these. They're not going to be clean and sober when you meet them, right? They're probably going to have a lot of tattoos on them. They're probably going to speak in a manner that might make you uncomfortable. And if you let that keep you from telling them about Jesus, then you may have missed the opportunity for them to be restored and for them to have salvation. And I get real fired up about it because I had a girl that was in our aftercare home, and she was going to a church retreat, and she was really self-conscious about being around Christians and having tattoos and her being in the program. And afterwards, she was so excited to tell me about this program. And she said, Miss Brandi, I got to tell you. She said, you know how I was worried about being around the church people and having my tattoos at this retreat? She says, the first night they gave me this necklace with a heart and a crown, just like this tattoo. And then the night after that, they gave me a purple rose, just like this tattoo. And then the last night, they had us go up and write down all the things from our past that hold us back. And we put them on a cross and we burned them. And it was just like this cross tattoo. And she said, and you know what that was? That was Jesus telling me that he loves me and he doesn't care about my tattoos.
Aw.
So,
girl, you're making me cry.
No, I've told that story so many times. And the first time I sat with chills and tears, and that is restoration. That is Jesus Christ. That is salvation. That is Christianity. Like, break down the walls and the barriers of what you think people are supposed to look like and what you think people are supposed to act like. And just get to the basic mission of restoring their heart.
You are singing my song. That is, I am equally passionate about it. Man, I think the worst thing we can do is is put on our Sunday best and forget about the rest. It's just,
that's quotable right there. That'll preach.
That's a t-shirt. You know, it makes me sad when I see so many broken and hurt people, and I know that there's an answer. And if they're being held back because they're afraid of the plastic shininess of the church, man, we're going to have to answer to that. We have to give an account for our actions. And if our prejudices are holding us back from loving people the way that Jesus loved them, that's going to be a tough one to answer to, I think. I would not look forward to that. And I'm sure I probably will. I'm sure I've done that very same thing in my own life. And that, man, I've been that broken girl. I've been that scared. God's going to strike me with lightning if I cross the threshold of this church. I've been that girl. And then to just be wrapped up in somebody's warm embrace and said, hey, I don't even care about your past. I care about the future, and Jesus has it.
It's the conditioning that we've been through that somewhere along the way got twisted in this movement. And I know I was raised in the judgmental church that said, you know, you're not welcome here unless you look like us. And I don't want to be a part of a church that my drug addict friends are not welcome to, that my sex trafficked friends are not welcome to, that my tattooed friends are not welcome to, that my struggling friends with mental health are not welcome to. Like, that's not my church. That's not my God. That's not my savior and my salvation. And I do believe that with more conversations like this, with people like you and I saying, I've been that person. Like, I've judged you for your appearance. I've judged you because you didn't look like me. But to be willing to take the step in faith to say, God, open my eyes, God, use me, God, let me serve you. And to go out, and I have a friend that has an outreach ministry for street people, you know, homeless people on the streets. And I've gone out and done this with her, and to have conversations with people on the street that will tell me how blessed they are and how good their God is and how grateful they are to have that day, when that day is all they have. Those are the things that open our eyes. Those are the things that strip back our layers. Those are the things that help us really fully serve this kingdom. Far better than having a great voice on a stage. Yeah,
Absolutely. Being the hands and feet of Jesus is what it's all about. And I think we sometimes miss that mark because we're afraid to get our hands and feet dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so Brandi, here's the thing. I first was drawn to you because the Super Bowl had just happened. And there was a whole lot of outcry happening, both for the halftime show and against the halftime show. I don't even know what number of Super Bowl this was, but it was the halftime show with J-Lo and Shakira. And first off, I just want to say those women, both exceptionally talented, beautiful women.
Oh yeah. Like, come on, man. If it every day that I'm looking at my body, I'm like, J-Lo is 50. What are you doing with your life? Like, work, girl, work.
Right. That being said, I had a lot of strong feelings about the halftime show because we're also in this time in 2020 where we've had the dawn of the Me Too movement. We have this incredible opportunity for young girls to walk into branches of employment and fields that they've not really been encouraged to step into, as far as like sciences and maths and business and politics and all of these things where women are being encouraged to go into the STEM fields. And there's just this rising up of women that is happening. And then there's also this conflict that we seem to be butting up against, where empowerment equals sexuality and sexuality equals empowerment. And you had written a letter to JLo online, and I saw that and I went, I think I like this girl. I need to get in touch with her. So that was what first drew me to you. So I would like to talk a little bit about that, about kind of what your response to the whole halftime show was and why it was the way that it was.
Well, for starters, I'm glad that the letter incited the feeling that you liked me, because that was not necessarily the opinion of others. Like, I'm not one to shy away from kicking a hornet's nest if I feel like the hornet's nest needs to be kicked.
Yeah.
That being said, there are hornets that fly out very hot, fast, and furious.
I think that's what I liked about you, because I was like, I see myself in this girl.
Yeah. So I try. I'm not a prude. I was raised in a very, very, very legalistic society where everything had to be covered up on women, and I don't feel like that's all necessary. I love dancing. I will bust a move and have a good time. My entire platform is built on female empowerment, because I grew up in a society where the men were the ones allowed to have power. And I struggled with that. My book is coming out this spring that talks about that whole journey of female empowerment. And so when I sat watching the halftime show, I sat with my two sons and our neighbors' sons, and all between the ages of 5th and 8th grade. And going into it, I was like, guys, like JLo's 50, Shakira's 40, like these guys are killing it, like fitness wise, physique wise. I was so excited for this halftime show.
Yeah.
And it got awkward, and I had boys watching, and they were kind of like, oh, is mom going to turn the channel? And I'm going to be cool, mom. I'm going to like gauge this whole thing and process it, And when it was over, I just had a really icky feeling about it. And I was trying to kind of put it into process all the feelings, right? Like, why am I feeling this way? What does this bring up in me? Is this empowerment? Even though it actually kind of feels the opposite of that to me. And I called my 8th grade son back in, because he's the oldest one, and he's the one really that, gets it. And I said, hey, I just need to talk to you. I said, I just need you to know, like, that display was not empowerment. That display was sexual objectification. And it was all the things that I tell you, like, not to do. Like, women are not a sexual object for you. They're not there for you to gawk over. They're not there for you to talk about how hot their bodies are, right? You can appreciate their beauty, and that's it. And I said, this show actually kind of did the opposite of what it is that I'm trying to teach you. Mm-hmm. And he gets it. I understand, mom, whatever. He's still a teenage boy, but he understands. And so I waited about 24 hours before I ever wrote anything, because I felt like I didn't want to bash the women. I was able to respect the fact that they're in great shape, and they're talented musicians, and they're amazing dancers, and they embrace their Latina culture. And I was able to take that away. But the undertone of feeling the general theme of the show felt like a strip club environment to me. Mm-hmm. There was a pole, there was crotch grabbing, there was really, really like more than just dancing and shaking your booty. If we want to do some butt shaking, like, I'm probably going to be like, whoa, that's impressive, sister. Like, I don't know how you move it that way, but kudos. The spread legs, the camera angles of the crotch shots, it just really felt nasty to me. And I, being on the inside of the sex trafficking and commercial sexual industry, see things that not mainstream society sees. I know that when you're talking about a strip club, I know that the majority of girls in a strip club are being trafficked. I know that a large number of girls that come through my program started out in a strip club and were trafficked in a strip club. I know that these girls are being forced to do things they don't want to do in that club. I know that these girls are not keeping their money. Even the ones not under the operation of a pimp are paying the house manager, they're paying the bar guy, for their sexual acts.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, my gosh, like here I am, like I'm trying to spread awareness about how pornography is the number one fueling flame to the fire of sex trafficking, and strip clubs are a huge platform for sex trafficking. And we had the opportunity to stand up here and say, we are empowered females in 2020. We dance, we sing, we run businesses, we own private jets, all the things. Why did we have to turn that into this objectification of ourselves? Why do we have to turn it into being a female that was performing in a sexual manner for an audience of predominantly males willing to consume your act? And the Super Bowl is the single biggest event of the year for sex trafficking in America. It's not the NFL's fault. It's not the Super Bowl's fault. It's not J-Lo's fault. It's not Shakira's fault. Where there is a large group of people assembled, traffickers will bring their girls. It happens at NASCAR. It happens at baseball games. It happens at concerts. It happens at car shows. When you have this large national event, they bring girls in from all over the world, the nation and the world, for this event. People are sold repeatedly through this event. You have a lot of men in town and women with power and money and used to getting things at their fingertips and their disposal. So it's the perfect setting. It's the perfect storm. So leading up to that, knowing that this is the environment and knowing that these are things that, why can we not take a stand and use this halftime show as a platform to say, let's end the demand. All right. Why is the demand there? Are we an over-sexualized culture that is putting sex out constantly on the internet and in media until the point where the people consuming that need more and more and more and need it at a younger age and need it more accessible and need it more freely? And I know the inside of this. And I have women that you can go look at my posts. There were like full-on feuds of women talking about how this was their version of empowerment. It's not mine. It's not my version of empowerment. It sets empowerment back in my mind because now no one is talking about the empowerment of that show. Now you have women fighting each other over this over-sexualization. Like, well, oh, this sexualization is fine. She can grab her crotch. It's a political statement. Men do it all the time. And then other women saying she's a slut and she's a skank. And so you have this feuding and it's ripped this whole community apart. And I think that we have to have more conversations. To me, it was a wake-up call that I have to educate more people. Yeah. I have to let you know, there was a meme that went around the very next day. Friends of mine shared it. And it's J-Lo on her private jet, kicked back. And it says, J-Lo on her private jet, not giving a flip what Nancy in Nebraska thought of her halftime performance. Okay, that's what you see. But guess what? A 15-year-old girl sees that you can have your own private jet too if you're willing to twirl around on a pole, slide across the stage, and grab your crotch for a camera and an audience willing to consume it. That's the message that all the other political statements that could have been shared there in a manner that educated the community were lost because of this. And blast me. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it in the name of I'm here in the fire. The Brene Brown quote, if you're not in the arena getting your butt kicked along with me, you don't get to have an opinion. And literally that's my feeling. I'm in the arena. I'm watching the girls get their butts kicked. I went and had a conversation with the girls in my aftercare home after this. They happened to be out to dinner while the halftime show was on television. And all I didn't even bring up my opinion. I went in, one of the girls was having a down day. Her energy was down. And she said, I'm kind of having a hard day today. I said, I'm kind of having a hard day too. I made the mistake of checking social media and my inbox before I talked to Jesus this morning. And there's some controversy. And I said, I made a post about the halftime show. And in unison, every girl in the house said, oh my gosh, we saw that. We saw it when we were at dinner. We didn't like it. We didn't like anything about it. It was gross. Why would she not be taking a stand and trying to help women like us? Why would she be
Mhm.
promoting that lifestyle? Why would she promote that culture? Why would she fan the flames of this fire that is burning our houses down? So I don't know it all, but I do know what is fanning these flames. And you can put me in whatever box corner you want to tuck me in, but I'm not going to quit telling you that that is not true empowerment.
Yeah. No, I would fully 100% agree with that. And you talked about it, kind of with pornography. And I know as somebody who works in addiction that that's what addiction is, you need the next big thing in order to get that high. And so you have to have a bigger and bigger dose
Hmm.
as you continue down the path of addiction. And when you think about the fact that pornography is literally at our fingertips with a click of a button for kids as young as 7 and 8 years old,
Hmm.
if they've got a phone or a computer, they have access to pornography without even trying.
Hmm.
And that I was exposed to pornography when I was 7 years old. I'm 46 now. That has left an indelible mark on me, and it has caused no lack of problems in my life because of the exposure at an early age. So
Hmm.
when you think about these kids having sat there and watched the halftime show innocently enough, and maybe that's their first exposure to something that is very sexual in nature, and their parents, they didn't consent to that. They didn't say, this is what I want my 7-year-old to see. But all
Hmm.
of a sudden it's in their faces. And now that sparked curiosity, it sparks arousal. And so then all of a sudden you've got 12-year-olds who are addicted to pornography.
Hmm.
What is that going to do to our young people as they break out into their own independence and as they move into marriage and parenting? And it just, because they're going to need the next big hit. And that addiction is only going to continue to grow unless that cycle is broken.
Hmm.
And I agree, this was a perfect opportunity for two amazingly talented, strong, powerful Latina women to stand up and use their platform in a big, beautiful, proud way and bring empowerment to women and shed light on talented, smart, powerful women. And yet
Hmm.
they, oh, it was so disappointing. It was so
Hmm.
disappointing.
Hmm. Hmm.
How would you define empowerment? I mean, we're throwing that word around a lot. How would you define women's empowerment?
It's owning your gifts and your power to fulfill the purpose that you were created for, uniquely you. It's being really aware of who God created you to be and how you serve that unique purpose. It's recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses. It's recognizing who you are when you are really healthy and obediently walking in God's call, and also noticing who you are when you are far from God and leaning on your own intuition.
Hmm. I like that. We talk a lot in recovery groups about finding your voice.
Hmm.
And because
Hmm.
so oftentimes women and men too, this is certainly not only for one of the genders, but oftentimes I think women are quieted so much. We go from kind of being in especially if you've grown up in a certain branch of church, you're sort of held back from even having an opinion, from expressing your own thoughts and takes on things, or expressing just your preference for anything. And then you move that into education and marriage, and then all of a sudden you're a mom, and your preferences and your choices and your opinions don't matter because now you've got kids that you have to think about. And it's just this constant barrage of women being sort of quieted down. And one of the fun things, it's beautiful and painful, is seeing women in recovery discover their voice and begin to recognize, oh, I do have a thought about this. Oh, I do have a preference on this. Hey, I do have a boundary. And now I know what that is. And now I'm going to stand up and say, this is my boundary. You're not allowed to cross it. And kind of gain that self-respect. And it's a neat experience to watch and to be able to kind of guide people through that. So I don't have a question. That's just an observation.
I that's the theme of my entire book, is women not either recognizing their voice or being allowed to have a voice and have an opinion, and women that I was told I talk too much all my life. I was told to be more, submissive and quieter and not have an opinion and not be so brutally honest. And it took me 35 years to realize that is the power that God gave me, that my voice is my unique power. It's my unique gift. It's my unique talent. And so oftentimes when we are searching for our purpose in life and we're out looking for this great intangible object floating in the clouds, oftentimes we have a gift and a skill and a talent that is uniquely ours, that God gifted us. We just don't recognize it. We've either been told it's not a gift, or we don't realize the value in what we have to offer. And so that's my whole mission with the platform of empowerment, is helping others realize, if you make an amazing apple pie, there's a good chance that you can use that gift to serve your purpose and own your voice in life.
Like, you can feed us talkers that don't like to cook.
Yes. Bring me the pie.
All the pie. Well, Brandi, it has been such a delight to sit down and chat with you. Is there anything that you would like to say to, I don't know. I mean, there might be somebody that's listening that's going, wait a second, I think maybe I'm not in a safe relationship, or this experience that I've had isn't, I'm still kind of processing through it and I don't know what to do because of the abuse that I've been in. Is there something you'd like to say to that person, or is there a place that we can direct them to find help in recovery?
Absolutely. If you are not able to leave the situation you're in on your own free will, you are in a bad situation that you need to leave. If you do not keep your own money, you are not working and you're not helping anyone out. If you are being threatened, or the lives of your loved ones are being threatened, you are not in a healthy relationship and you need to get out. If you find yourself questioning the situation you are in, get help. In any way, shape, form, or fashion, get help. You are valuable. You are worthy. The world is a better place with you in it. And there are resources that can help you. You can go to refugeforwomen.org, and there is an anonymous line that you can fill out an application and get help. You can call the National Trafficking Hotline, which we will include the number in the show notes, and you can report that you need help. There is a multitude of options out there for you, a ton of resources. You can contact A21. They have a national trafficking hotline. They have a text for help. They have an online application form. But the bottom line is, it's not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not too far from God. You can be restored. You can be healed. You can have a healthy life. You can realize that there are people that love you and want to take care of you. Love is not scary. Love is not a place of fear. Love is not being afraid of the person that you're with. Love is not being made to do things that you don't want to do. So get help, find a resource, get online, find some way to find someone, because I promise you there are people out there looking to help you. They just don't know you need the help yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Brandi, thank you so very much. I have valued our time together both just in your insight and in your wisdom through experience working with these people that are in a desperate situation. And I am so thankful that there are people like you who are willing to go into the trenches and to walk alongside them and let them know that they are indeed valuable and loved, and that there is a God who loves them so deeply and is just longing to restore them.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And friends, be sure and go listen to Brandi's podcast, which is The Power Project. You can also go to the-powerproject.com is her website. And I would encourage you to go check it out. There's a lot of good information on there. And she's had all kinds of interesting guests on her show as well. So I would really encourage you to go see what she's up to. And you said you've got a book coming out in the spring?
I do. Hopefully it will be out in April. It has been a journey. It's been a few years. I can't release the name just yet.
Okay.
But it's going to be the Power Project book in words.
Okay.
So the journey that I've been on, the creation of it, the stepping out in obedience, and we'll have, if you go over to the best way to stay in touch is you can subscribe to my email list. So on the website, there's a form that you can fill out to subscribe to that. And I'll be giving you updates on book tours and book launch dates and book signings, and where you can go to get a free chapter of the book before anybody else has it in their hands. And so a lot of other exciting things we have going on. The Power Hat Co. is going to launch this year, which is a social enterprise to employ trafficked survivors. We've got some really gorgeous hats that we're going to be selling and supporting organizations that are fighting the trafficking cause. So bottom line, follow me on Instagram. It's just at Brandi Voth, BrandiVoth. The podcast is on Instagram. That is going to be _Power Project. If you are on TikTok and you're, an adult, because most of them are like 14-year-old girls, you can follow me on TikTok. I'm Brandi Voth on TikTok. And the best way to stay in touch is to be on my email list.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Guys, please go check Brandi out. She is full of good information and valuable insight and wisdom, probably beyond her years. And I'm so happy that we got a chance to sit down and chat this morning. Thank you, Brandi.
Thank you.
Friends.
Thank you.
As you guys continue on this week, remember, love God, love people, pray hard, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.